Former Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright faces sentencing next month, and now his attorneys are asking the judge to focus on treatment and supervision instead of considering a lengthy prison sentence. Wright pleaded guilty last October to 3 federal charges, including misuse of public funds, wire fraud, and taking 147 pills that were supposed to be part of the sheriff's drug take-back program. The current advisory sentencing range is 33 to 41 months, and he is scheduled to be sentenced on July 7th. In a 12-page sentencing memorandum that was filed yesterday, June 23rd, his attorneys lay out parts of Chuck Wright's life that I did not know about. They say that he left an abusive home at 16 years old, he lived in a fire department, and he never finished high school. They say surgeries related to his years in law enforcement introduced him to opioid prescriptions, which led to an addiction. They also say that childhood abuse and decades of accumulated trauma contributed to PTSD that went untreated. This filing also says that Wright now has maintained more than 16 months of sobriety, he has completed inpatient treatment, he's undergone drug testing and accepted responsibility by resigning, giving up his law enforcement certification, pleading guilty, and beginning to pay restitution. I do have compassion for every part of that. I know that addiction is a disease. I know that childhood trauma does not suddenly disappear because you become respected in your community or powerful in your community. So I certainly hope that Chuck Wright is able to maintain his sobriety and that he heals from all of the things that were left untreated for years. His attorneys also argue in this filing that his sentence should be consistent with sentences given to other former South Carolina sheriffs who were accused or convicted of misconduct while in office. They cite several, and I'm going to go over them quickly. Saluda County Sheriff Jason Booth and former Abbeville County Sheriff Charles Goodwin, who both received probation. Former Florence County Sheriff Kenny Boone received 1 day in custody and 5 years of probation. Former Greenville County Sheriff Will Lewis received 1 year. Former Lexington County Sheriff James Metz received 1 year and 1 day. Former Chesterfield County Sheriff Sam Parker received 2 years. And former Chester County Sheriff Alex Underwood received 46 months. But I have to ask, were those sentences justified, or do they just highlight a sentencing disparity when people were former law enforcement? Because if it is that disparity issue, then I don't think we should continue that trend just because there's a precedent to do so. I also can't read this filing without thinking about all of the people that were arrested during Chuck Wright's more than 20 years as sheriff of Spartanburg County. How many of those people were dealing with untreated PTSD? How many of those people had a rough childhood? How many of those people were dealing with the disease of addiction? And how many of those people only came to be addicted after they were prescribed opioid medications? I have to believe that the answer to most of those questions is many. And then I have more questions, like how many of those people are still sitting in jail or prison? How many of those people have any real possibility of a lesser charge because they have high-powered attorneys or they're able to compare themselves and their sentences to former sheriffs? I have to believe the answer to those questions is very few. I do have compassion for the disease of addiction, but Chuck Wright wasn't just someone dealing with addiction, he was the sheriff. And the charges that he has pleaded guilty to prove that he abused that trust. And it's not just the federal charges that he is facing. He is also facing over 60 ethics charges, and we'll see what happens, but his attorneys are asking for leniency. His attorneys say that a lengthy prison sentence would be punishing the addiction and not the person. And that probably is a discussion that our judicial system needs to have, but that conversation cannot start and end when the person asking for that compassion is a sheriff. Let me know your thoughts on this, and I'll update you after sentencing on July 7th.